Good morning. In this session, I'm going to give a brief introduction to one of the popular object-oriented programming language, namely C++. Students, in our previous session, we discussed about the major differences between procedure-oriented programming and object-oriented programming. Some of the major differences are, in case of procedure-oriented programming, our emphasis or concentration is on function. In an object-oriented programming, the concentration is mainly on data. In the case of procedure-oriented programming, data is given second-degree importance, while function takes the top priority. In the case of object-oriented programming, it's quite the reverse. Data is given highest priority when compared to functions. In a procedure-oriented programming, the complexity of a program can be managed by decomposing the program into number of simple functions. Whereas in case of object-oriented programming, the complexity is managed through the decomposition of the program into number of entities called objects. A procedure-oriented programming follows top-down approach, whereas an object-oriented programming follows bottom-up approach. A procedure-oriented programming is suitable for development from larger system to reducing to lower complexity function, whereas an object-oriented programming is suitable for enhancing the system from smaller one to bigger one. And in the previous session, we studied the major benefits of object-oriented programming. In addition to that one, we studied some of the basic concepts of OOPS also. The different concepts of OOPS provides different benefits. For example, the first concept in the case of object-oriented programming is objects and classes. Through the objects and classes, we can protect our data by wrapping them inside a unit. So that wrapping of data and functions together into a single unit called classes or object gives you security for your data. Similarly, there is a concept called abstraction. Abstraction means hiding certain unwanted thing or hiding certain background detail from the programmer or from the user point of view. So that gives you more flexibility. At the same time, it reduces the complexity. The next one is inheritance. Through the inheritance, we can achieve the objective of reusability. That means what is already there, you need not repeat it. Suppose if you want to create a new class from an existing class, means what is already there in your existing class, you need not repeat in the new class or the derived class. So these are some of the major benefits of object-oriented programming. And depending on the different features or different concepts supported, there are two types of languages. One is object-based language, the other one is object-oriented language. In case of object-based language, we can see the features like objects, classes, encapsulation, polymorphism, message passing, etc. And dynamic initialization and clearing of objects. These are the 6 different features which is supported by object-based language. In addition to these features, if 2 more features are supported, namely inheritance and dynamic binding, such a language we call it as object-oriented language. So generally, object-based language is a subset of object-oriented language. The main objective of this session is to give a brief introduction to a programming language called C++. In this session, the other objective is to illustrate the differences between C and C++. Because in your first semester and also in the second semester for data structure application, we have used C. But in this semester, we are going to learn C++. So as an introductory lecture, here I will explain the differences between C and C++. C comes under the category of procedure-oriented programming, and C++ comes under the category of object-oriented programming. And some of the basic programming preliminaries available in C++ is also covered in this session. At the end of this session, you should be in a position to understand how C++ language was evolved, who developed C language, what is the history of C++, and you should be in a position to understand the differences between C and C++, and you are in a position able to understand the major or some of the basic programming preliminaries available in C++. Without learning these things, you cannot go for learning advanced concepts in C++. C++ is an object-oriented programming language. It was developed by a scientist or the mathematician or a computer scientist by the name John Stroop at AT&T Bell Lab, USA during early 1980. The main intention of developing C++ language is to eliminate the drawbacks of procedure language like C by adding the concept of object-oriented programming. So before the development of C++, there was a language by the name Simula 67. So this language supports some basic object-oriented features. We know that what are the advantages of C language also, because C language is the most popular structured programming language. So what Stroop did is he added the object-oriented features of Simula 67 to the functional approach or structured programming concepts of C and come out with a new version called C++. The basic difference between C and C++ is C does not support classes because the basic object-oriented concept is classes. From the concept, we can form object. Using objects and classes, we can go for a new concept like encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance. All the concepts are based on classes only. So if you add the feature of classes to C language, it becomes C++. So that's why C++ generally called as C language with the features of classes or C with classes. And C++ is considered as a superset of C. The meaning is all the program that is available in C language can be executed in C++. But the reverse is not true. The program written in C++ cannot, all the program written in C++ cannot be executed in C. The reason is objects and classes are not supported in C. But all the features of C language is available in C++. Let us see the major differences between C language and a C++ language. The first difference is in C++, a concept called function prototyping that I'm going to discuss in the next chapter. So that function prototyping is compulsory in C++, but it is not compulsory in C, but it is an optional. If you add the functional prototyping, that's a good programming technique, but that is not mandatory in C language. To understand what is the function prototype, you consider the following simple example. Here I have declared a variable called int a, float b, and the third line float root int. That is also comes under the declaration section only. So that line we call it as this line, float root int. That's a declaration that tells that there is a function called root that you are going to call, which takes one argument of which type, int type, and returns a value of float type. So that declaration is called as function prototyping. Function prototyping is a type of declaration that gives the compiler several information. The first information provided through function prototyping is what is the name of the function. In this example, the name of the function is root. How many arguments it takes? In this example, it takes only one argument. What is the data type of the argument? The argument data type is int. And what is the return type? The return type is float type. And here I have declared a variable called, use the variable called a, whose value is 20. Now I will call the function called root with a as argument, and the value returned by the function is received by the variable b. On the right side, I have defined the function exactly similar to your function prototype. Function prototype tells that the return type is float. Return type is float. Return type is float. Function name is root. It takes only one argument of int type and return the square root of that number. So argument is integer type. The square root of integer is need not be integer. It could be float also. So this type of declaration, this line, float, root, int, this line we call it as function prototype. But in C language, what happens is, without writing this line also, we can call a function. But in C++, function prototyping is a must. So anyway, there is separate chapter for function in C++. There I'm going to explain with more example on function prototyping. In C language, the second difference between C and C++ is in C language, a character constant is automatically elevated, automatically converted into int type. While in C++, it is not like that. For example, you take the statement x equal to 20 plus a. Here 20 is int type and a, which is written within the two single quote, is considered as a character constant. So here what happens is, in the case of C language, the value, wherever the character constant appears, it is automatically converted into int type. In that case, it takes the ASCII code of the letter A. The ASCII code of capital A is 65. So now the x value will be 20 plus 65. It becomes 85. But in C++, that automatic conversion will not take place. The next difference is, in C language, we can take the address of register variable also. I think in your first semester, you have studied the storage classes like auto, extern, static, register. Auto, extern, and static variable are considered as memory variable. There is one more class called register variable, where the variable is stored in memory register. We can definitely take out the address of the variable which is stored in memory location. For example, you can take out the address of automatic variable, external variable, and static variable, because all these variables are stored in memory location. But you cannot take the address of register variable in C language. But in C++, we can take the address of register variable also. And in C language, any identifier you take, it is the maximum size or maximum length of that identifier is 32 character. Beyond 32 character, if anything is there, that is considered as insignificant. The compiler automatically ignores it. So the first 32 characters are considered as significant characters in the identifier. But in C++, that such restriction is not there. But still, the better option or it is advisable to have the variable names or the identifier name less than 32 characters. Because the thing is, if you use more than 32 characters, everywhere, wherever you need that variable, all that character has to be typed. So there is a chance that you may make some mistakes. So even though the restriction on the length of the identifier is not there in C++, but it's not a good programming tactic. Better to have shorter identifier length. And C has data types like int, float, char, etc., double, etc. In C++, we have an additional data type called bool. But that data type is available in some versions of C++. Another difference between C and C++ is, in C language, all the variable must be declared in the beginning itself in the declaration line. Wherever you are using that variable is not important. Whether the variable is used in the first line or the last line or the last statement also, the variable must be declared in the beginning only. So that line where all the variables are declared, we call it a declaration part. Then you can start the executable part. But in C++, it's not like that. Variable can be used, can be declared wherever you want it. But before you use that variable, the variable must have been declared. As an example, you consider the statement here. I have declared two variables int with value a equal to 10 and another variable called b. Next line, a equal to 10. So in this line, at that time, before storing a equal to 10, the variable a must have been declared, already declared. Then b equal to plus plus a. Now a is incremented, so a value becomes 11. 11 is stored in b. Now I will declare another variable called c. But in C++, in C language, this flexibility is not there. A, B, C, all must be declared in this part only. But here, what happens is, since the variable C, I am using it only in this line. Since the line C is used in the statement C equal to A plus B, before writing this line, the value of the variable must have been declared. That's all. So there is no restriction that variable must be declared. All variable in the beginning itself. That restriction is not there. So C++, when compared to C language, is more flexible. When you type a C program, when you save it, generally we save it with the extension .c. Whereas C++ programs are stored with the extension .cpp. Typing, everything is same. C and C++, you'll use the same editor, turbo editor. After typing the program, by pressing either F2 or going to file and save option, while saving the C program, you save it with that file name .c. C++, this file name .cpp. So these are the some of the major differences between C and C++. Next. So now I will continue with the discussion on C++. Here I will give you some brief introduction to some of the programming preliminaries available in C++. You want to learn any language, whether it's a Kannada, English, C language, Java language, whatever it may be, you have to learn certain basics of that language. So they are considered as programming preliminaries. The first programming preliminary is what are the character set. Because if you want to learn Kannada also, first you have to learn the A-I-E of Kannada language. If you want to learn English language, first you have to learn the alphabets in English, A, B, C, D, etc. Just similar to communicative language in programming language also. First we have to learn what are the characters available in that language. Because while writing a program, you should use only those characters available in the character set. Any character which is not there in the character set, if you use it in your program, your compiler gives you an error message. The different characters available in C are alphabets. That means while writing a C++ program, you can use any uppercase letters from A to Z or any small letters from small a to small z. You can use all the 10 decimal digits 0 to 9. In addition to that one, while writing a program, you can use certain special characters like left parenthesis, right parenthesis, left bracket, left brace, right brace, exclamatory mark, and sign, or symbol, then caret sign, plus, minus, star, slash, plus, greater than, less than, equal to, tilde mark, comma, full stop, colon, semicolon, single quotes, double quotes, etc. So your program, any character you take it from your C++ program, that character must be available in the character set. So if you use the letter alpha, beta in your C++ program, your compiler definitely gives you an error message because alpha and beta is not included in any of the characters of C++. Tokens. If you want to write a program after learning the character, the next thing is you have to start learning words, just like your English language. So the words in C++ have a different meaning that I will come to that one later. So while writing a C program, you are supposed to use certain words. Each word in a programming language belongs to some category. For example, you take one English sentence, Mysore is a beautiful city. So here, when you look at the sentence, there are so many words like Mysore is a beautiful city. Then in between semicolon, at the end of the sentence, we have a dot. So each and every component in that sentence, we call it as tokens. So just similar to your communicative language, programming language also have certain basic individual units or elements. The individual component of a programming language, we call it as tokens. The different tokens available in C++ are keywords. I'll come to that one later. Some of the examples of keywords are int, char, float, etc. Identifiers, some fact, S1, S2, etc. Constant, 23, 25.6, letter A, etc. Strings, Mysore, computer, college, Maharani, etc. Some of the operators. So each of these 5 categories we consider as tokens in C++. Your program is nothing but collection of many tokens. That's all. Keywords. The first type of token is, first category of token is keywords. What do we mean by keyword? Keywords are nothing but reserved words. Every keyword has a specific meaning. The meaning of the keyword, the programmer cannot alter. Because the keyword the meaning of every keyword is already defined. That keyword has to be used only for the intended purpose. You cannot change the meaning. For example, use the word int to declare integer variable. That I cannot use it for any other purpose. So the different keywords available in C++ is listed here. Here some words I have underlined, indicating that those keywords are available only in C++. Remaining are available both in C and C++. Some of the keywords in C++ are ASM, auto, break, delete, friend, private, operator, protected, etc. The usage of these keywords will be familiar to you once we start writing C++ program. Next. After learning the character, we can form words. Words, there are 2 types. One is the word could be a reserved word that I already explained. The reserved words are also called as keyword. Another type of word is we can create a word on our own. Those words which are created by the programmer are called as identifiers. So identifiers are nothing but user-defined words. Keywords are nothing but reserved words. Why we require identifier? See, everybody will have a name. For example, Manjunath, Linganna, Balkrishna, etc. Why that is required? That is to identify a person. Just similar to that one, in a programming language also, we require so many things. In a programming language, we use certain variable, constants, object, class, function, structure, union, etc. To identify any one of these things, then everything, for every variable, you should give a name. For every constant, you should give a name. For every object, a name. For every function has a name. Every structure has a name. Every union has a name. The name given to any one of these components, we call it an identifier. So generally, identifier are used to identify either a variable, constant, objects, classes, function, structure, and union. The same program, you cannot have variable and the constant with the same name. Similarly, you cannot have objects and classes with the same name, because you should have a unique name to identify these. So that unique name, we call it an identifier. But while giving a name to any one of these components like variable, constant, etc., you should follow certain rules that depends on the grammar of that language. In C++, the first rule says that your identifier must begin with a letter. First letter is a letter. After that, you can have both letters and digits, including underscore. No special characters are allowed. You cannot have within the identifier star mark, slash mark, etc. Both uppercase and lowercase letters are considered as different. Next. And your identifier should not be a keyword. Some of the examples of valid identifier are sum, diff, S1, S2, because all these words will follow the rules of identifier. Whereas the word one sum is an invalid identifier, because identifier should start with alphabet. Here one is not an alphabet, it is a digit. Prod star 2, that is also an invalid, because star is a special character. Special characters are not allowed. A space 1, invalid, because space is also special character, that is also not allowed in an identifier. But these rules of an identifier is already have studied in your C language. Same thing is applicable for C++ also. So with this one, I'm going to conclude this session. Before concluding the session, I'll discuss about some of the review question or some of the probable questions that can appear in your examination based on the today's lecture. Discuss the differences between C and C++. What are C tokens? Give an example for each. Distinguish keywords and identifier. We know that for keyword is a reserved word, identifier is a user-defined word. Mention the rules for creating an identifier in C++. Whenever in the examination such question appear, first you write the set of rules, followed by you give some examples for valid as well as invalid identifier. Next, to understand our level of, to check our level of understanding, a frame from multiple choice question as follows. C++ is also known as C with dash. In the beginning only I told C++, the basic concept of object-oriented programming is classes. From the classes, we can derive other concept like object, encapsulation, etc. So classes, if it is added to the procedure-oriented concept or procedure-oriented language like C, it becomes a C++. The correct answer is C++ is nothing but C with classes. The correct answer is C. The second question, which of the following is an invalid identifier in C++? Float, int, sum, none. The rule says that one, it should start with an alphabet, that is true. It should not contain only letters and digits. It should not be a keyword, and both uppercase letters and lowercase letters are distinct. But in the case of keyword, all the keyword must be in lowercase letter only. Here the word float, even though if it is small FLOAT means it would have been a keyword. But here I typed float, int, sum, all in capital letter. So they are all considered as valid identifier only. So in this example, there is no invalid identifier. All are valid. The correct answer is D. Which of the following is not a token? The tokens in C++ are keywords, identifier, strings, operators, constants, etc. Here, only thing, which of the following is not a constant, means function is not a, which of the following is not a token. So function is not a token, because identifier is a token, constant is a token, string is a token. The correct answer is A. identify the incorrect statement. All C programs are C++ programs also, because C is a superset of C. The first statement is correct. In C++, variable can be declared anywhere before their exit. That is also true. All C++ programs are C program? No, because C++ has additional concept like objects and classes. If you use such concept in your program, then that program is considered as a C++ program. So you cannot execute it using C compiler. In C, function prototyping is not compulsory. Yes, that is true. So the correct answer for this question is C. And last question is, which of the following is a keyword in C++? Float. Here, the word float is written in lowercase letter. Definitely, it's a keyword. Factorial, it's not a keyword. Object, if it is small o, b, j, e, c, t means it would have been a keyword. But here the letter, first letter O is written in capital letter means it cannot be a keyword. Someone, that is also an identifier. So only the first word, answer A is correct. Hope you have enjoyed this session. But as usual, if you have any doubt about today's session or any of the previous 5 sessions, you can send your queries or send your questions to my mail ID so that I can note down all these your doubts, so that these doubts will be cleared when we have a Google Meet in the next week. So my sincere advice is to listen to all the 5 to 6 lectures carefully, note down the point where you feel you have a doubt. Then you can send me the doubts in the beginning. In the next class, I can note down all your doubts and clarify it in a Google Meet. Thank you.